Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth installment of the new Turf Battles Client Development Diary series. Today, we finally have the opportunity to show you guys not only the reintroduction of the Masters and Transformation skills, but also some new skills that were added, some of which you may already know from past versions of Turf Battles, called the Apprentice Skills. Um, in addition to that, we've also been working on buffs, and that system is pretty much finished. We've re-implemented all the existing buffs that Turf Battles gained over the years, so that's all working properly. The only thing that's left to do is add certain buff icons to the client. And that's still an ongoing thing. But even without the icons showing, the buffs do work. Um, but we'll get more into that in a little bit. I just wanted to get started with showing off some of the re-implemented skills just to show that they are working as expected, and then quickly move on to the apprentice skills, which I'm sure everyone is very excited to see implemented. So we've already gone ahead and set up two characters at the soccer field just for demonstrating these skills on targets, just so that they don't die and we don't have to wait for, say, a monster to respawn or something along those lines. Um, and as you can see, I've already set up a fist warrior and a character for every class that we're going to be showing today, which will only be the human characters, so Blade Warrior, Fist Warrior, and Red Mages. And then in the next update, we'll be demoing the Nephilim, so Blue Mages and Archers, just because those two classes still have some work to be done on the apprentice skills before they can be shown off. Okay, so right off the bat, we have our typical master skills, so Blast Fist, Soul Fist, Endure, Fanatical, and Guardian Protection. Transformation, Warp Speed, Death Hand, and Aura of Fury. These all work exactly how they should be working based on the current version of Turf Battles. But then you might also notice that there's a new skill down here. Every class is getting a fourth transformation skill. We haven't gone to that part of development for the advanced skills yet. Right now we're just working on getting all the apprentice skills, which is all the skills in this column right here, set up for every single class. Um, so just to start us off, we'll just demonstrate these two really quick. I've already set up my character with all the stats that I need to use the equipment that I have and stuff like that, so we should see some pretty normal damage here. There we go. So that's just an AoE, and of course, if you move in and out of that AoE, you won't be damaged anymore. If you move back in, you will be damaged. So, just typical thing. We just want to show that it is working. Um, if you did notice, there was a little bit of a delay on when the AoE started damaging and when the the Soul Fist hit. That was just something on our end. It was a breakpoint in the code that we had set up, and I forgot to disable before this video. But just showing you again, that time there was no delay. And similarly, if you use Soul Fist, no delay. Okay, so let's move on to the apprentice skills. And we'll just go through each one of them and kind of explain what they do and kind of the purpose behind them. So our first one is called Piercing Blast, and I'll just throw it right here. We already have the descriptions added to each of the skills. So Piercing Blast is a skill that can be launched at a target, and upon impact, damage is done to that target and any nearby surrounding enemies. Like with other items and certain other skills, for blades and fists, this type of skill will generate threat. Obviously, more so for the blades. I believe the multiplier for blades is times 5, whereas the multiplier for fists on this specific skill is times 3. But basically, the whole purpose behind this skill was to kind of counteract the fact that blades and fists and even archers to a point don't really have an AoE or splash damage skill that can help them level up faster at those lower levels. So this skill specifically can be launched repeatedly after a certain cooldown period, of course, but it damages anything around you. So you can pull a bunch of monsters and repeatedly use this skill and deal large amounts of damage to kill that large group faster if you'd rather do that than kill them one by one. So we'll go ahead and launch that at the demo chair character. And just there you saw that they were both hit for, I think it was around 3 point something. We'll do it again. Yeah. So again, they're both hit. Only reason they're not dying right now is because those characters have an insanely high amount of health set up, so that we don't have to keep respawning them. The next skill is called Thrust. This isn't a splash skill. It's not a AoE skill. It's a single target skill. So the description, as it says uh, this attack will damage a single target and activate a bleed effect on the target, causing them to lose additional health over time. So basically, it's going to hit them once, and then after that, it's going to continue to hit them for a set amount of damage every second until the effect is over. Uh, so right away, you're probably thinking, oh, that kind of sounds like Death Hand. Um, Death Hand deals damage over time. It doesn't have an instant hit. But it also deals a lot more damage than Thrust. We got to remember that these are lower level skills. Players are going to be able to get them pretty much right away. There's going to be some kind of way to get them. Traditionally, it's been by collecting something called Windflowers. We haven't gone as far as to incorporate that yet, but that might be something that we do, where we have champion monsters, which are basically little mini bosses scattered around the entire game, where there's a cluster of a certain type of monster. And the champion boss would have a certain drop table that allows them to drop Windflowers, and then you exchange a low amount of those for different upgrades to the skill until it's level 10. But we'll go ahead and use this on one of the characters. As you can see, it did a starter damage, which was 3,000 something, and then it continued to do about 400 damage for a few seconds every second, and that was the bleed effect. And also, you also saw that it didn't splash onto the other character testmate. And then the last skill for Fist Warrior is called Dynamic Finish. Um, Personally, I think this skill is pretty interesting. It might need some adjusting, similarly, so might other skills, just because it hasn't gone through too much balance testing, and this skill specifically can stack up really well with crits, because it does increase your finisher multiplier. It doesn't do this 100% of the time. There's a chance that'll happen, but if it does happen and it combines with a crit, it can lead to some pretty radical numbers. But we'll just go ahead and set up a finisher so that that skill can actually do something. And then we'll attack normally without the skill activated, just so you can see what a finisher looks like. So I believe it was 7.3 and a crit was 14,000 with a finisher. So now we'll activate the effect, and we'll just go ahead and hit. So then right there we're hitting just a bit under 8k, just a bit over 8k in finishers. And there we had, it's really hard to see the numbers, they fly by so fast. But if you were to slow down the video, I'm sure you would see the crits happening, or the finishers happening. I think right now the multiplier is set to something like an additional 30% damage on finishers. So of course, like I just described, when you hit a crit, that's going to deal even more damage because crits are double, and then you apply the finisher, and it's double plus the 30% crit, or sorry, the 30% effect on dynamic finish. Um, so yeah, that's the Fist Warrior skills. We'll move on to I think Blade Warrior, and then we'll show off the Red Mage as the last one for today, just because we did want to show the buff system using the Red Mage buffs. And again, we've already set up these characters just so we don't have to waste time gearing them up and running all the way to soccer field and restatting the characters for you. Okay, so again, we'll just show you guys the master skills, and I don't think I showed the trans skills in the last video, so I guess we'll do that as well, just to show that they are working. Okay, so first one is Blast Blade. Great, working as expected, just like the Blast Fist skill was. There's the Stone Feet effect. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this just because you've already seen it. There's us transforming. And here's us using all the buffs that come with blades. And I've run out of mana and I don't have some mana potions, so I'm just going to pause the video real quick while I put my mana back up. Alright, so moving forward, we have the apprentice skills for the Blade Warrior, starting off with Lightning Soul. Lightning Soul is kind of the counterpart to the Fist's piercing, I think we called it Piercing Blast or something like that. But it's the counterpart where it can do damage to multiple targets at once by splashing damage to nearby targets. Similarly, instead of a ×3 multiplier, as you can see on the description, it has a ×5 multiplier. That's just so that Blade Warriors who are meant to be the tanks can more easily manage monsters and maintain aggro on them. So if we go ahead and use it, it should hit both targets, which it did. And again, these are splash skills, so once you get to a certain distance and you use it, it won't affect anybody. So for example, if it's this far away and we use it, it should only hit one, which it did. I'll just go and move him back for future testing. Okay, moving forward, we then have Crashing Sword. So this is a buff skill. So while active, the skill will increase your hit rate and your dodge rate by a percentage. So it's just a buff so that you can hit more and you get hit less. So just to use it, we'll use it and we'll look at our hit rate, which is right here, and our dodge rate, which is right here. So all of a sudden, I did notice that everything was set to 0, and using that fixed that. So we'll wait till this buff runs out so you can see the real values. But this should go down to, I believe, 110%, and then 0%, I think, or 10%, one or the other. But that'll happen soon. I'm not gonna wait for that. I'm gonna start explaining the next one, and when it happens, I'll just comment on it. Actually, it's about to happen, so just wait. There it goes. So we went down to 112%, so that was a 10% increase on hit rate, and down to 0% on dodge rate, which was a 20% increase if I remember correctly. Okay, the next buff is kind of a buff slash debuff. Blades are already pretty tanky. They have a lot of health. This specific one is a skill that you'd use in certain situations. So I'll read it out and I'll explain that. So while active, the skill will increase your block rate, but reduce your magic defense by a percentage. So basically, you would only want to use this skill when there's either a lot of physical classes and you need that extra kind of defense against them, or you could use this skill when you already have enough magic defense and you don't have to worry about if you lose it, it doesn't matter. So we'll go ahead and use that. It's got a kind of cool effect, so I'll move this over so you can see it. And just so you can see it, our block rate before using it is 44.2, and our magic defense before using it is 343. And as soon as we use it, there's the effect, and it goes down to 133% magic and 54% block rate. Now remember, this doesn't mean you have 133% magic defense. uh, this number is divided by 1,000, and that's the actual percentage that you have, so that would be 13.3% magic defense. And then again, it's going to run out, and we're back down to 44.2. Cool. So yeah, these two skills really, I mean, they come in clutch, I guess to say the least, in the fact that, especially when you're luring monsters around Latianus or East Lad, you're going to be using the skill a lot, just so you can level up faster. And that's something that a lot of players in the past have kind of complained about when you play a Blade or a Fist Warrior, especially at lower levels, when you don't have access to an AoE. It's a lot slower than as if you were playing a red mage or a blue mage, or even an archer, because archers do have skills that hit multiple targets. And it's just there to kind of counteract or help motivate people to play these classes. And then finally we have the red mage. Okay, so looking at the character right now, I didn't unlock the skills, so go ahead and pause the video and then unlock the skills and be back. Alright, sorry about that. So, again, we'll go through just some of these skills really quick that can be used. So, skills that aren't passive. So there's our mana barrier. There's our fire fury. Here's us transforming. Aura, or sorry, silence aura. And then finally we have Wide Fury, which is a splash damage skill, although I don't know if I'm close enough for it to hit both, but there we go. So, there we go. They both got hit. I believe it's at 8,500 constant damage. And we'll move on to the Apprentice Skills. Alright, so the first one is Mana Recovery. It's a pretty basic skill. Essentially, it's a buff while it's active. Your total mana recovered per second is increased, so your mana regen is increased by a certain value, depending on the skill level. And to see that, we just come over here and we go to mana regen rate. It's currently 0. I can't unequip anything while I'm transformed, so I'll use it, and all these stats are going to auto-update. That's an issue we're going to have to fix, and then we'll see what it turns into afterwards, I guess. But I believe it should be I believe it starts off at 0 and it's going to turn into 500 anyways. So, yeah. So, with this effect on, I now have 500 mana regen rate. You can see my mana is going up by 500 each time, or each second. And if this buff were to turn off, it would change to 0. And again, this is something you might be already noticing that there's no icon. That's what I mentioned earlier. We still have to add some icons to the game, but the buff is active and it is working. Next, we have something called Mana Increase. It's pretty self-explanatory with that name, but basically it's going to increase your maximum mana for a set amount of time by a flat value, not by a percentage. So right now we have 9,664 maximum mana. If we were to use this, we then have 12,664 maximum mana. And again, you'll see there's no icon. That's temporary. That'll be resolved soon enough, probably by the next video. And then the final skill is Phantom Fire. This skill works similar to the last two skills that we showed off that did splash damage. The difference is instead of generating threat, it activates a burn debuff on any targets that were damaged by this skill. So if you remember, a burn effect is just something that does damage every second for a set amount of time. So if we go ahead and use it on these targets, they should both get hit for a flat damage at the start, which should be around 3k, I believe. And then after that, they'll have a much lower constant damage every second. There you go. So I believe they're getting hit for 500s right there. Yeah. And again, all these skills, they were meant for lower levels, so they're not meant to be an OP skill that once you use it, you're going to do really well in PvP or something like that. They're more so for just providing them with a little edge so that they can compete or so that they can progress faster and just make their lives easier. Okay, so that's it for the apprentice skills and masters and trans skills. I might hop on my fist after this just to show you guys the trans skills for fist warriors because I do believe I forgot that. But right now I just wanted to show you guys some more buffs, specifically these ones to show that they are working and show that they do replace each other when they need to, just like in turf battles. So if you just noticed, fire buff was replaced by fire warm. Um, and then because I was using GM stats, all my skills were disabled, but those worked. I'm going to pause just so I can fix that and then show you the rest. Alright, so the only issue was I didn't have enough yellow and they were activated through a GM command, but you guys don't need to worry about that. So right now we have Fire Warm on. We're going to go ahead and try Warm Mother on these players. That worked. Go ahead and try some Fire Shield. Great. And then Fire Charge. I wasn't showing the stats, so I'll just go ahead and show my magic AP going up from this. There we go. Cool. So yeah, like I said, buffs are pretty much done. The only real thing left to do is add those icons in there. It's a pretty simple task. It's more so just finding out which ones are missing and re-adding those. So we've just kind of been slowly going through those while working on the advanced skills, or specifically the apprentice skills. And when I say advanced skills, I mean all skills in this tab. That includes apprentice skills, that includes master skills and transformation skills. And just to finish it off, I'm going to go ahead and jump on that fist to show you guys the transformation skills that I missed. There we go. So that's me transforming. This is me running normally. This is me with warp speed. This is me using Death Hand on one of these guys. There we go. And then finally we have Aura Fury, which in the last update was made to only apply to the caster, not in a party. So this description actually needs still to get updated. But there it is, Aura Fury. Working just as expected. I forgot to show the stats again, but it is working. We did make some other small changes, just like bug fixes and things like that, just as we noticed them. I won't go through that really because it's trivial, but just as an example, in the last video, the production interface, this level area was a lot smaller, and if you reach level 100 of 100, the text went off the little slot that it's supposed to be in, so we just increased that size. But yeah, so that's it. That's all we have for today. Like I said, we're still working on some of the apprentice skills for the Nephilim race, so archers and blue mages. There's They have some unique features, and that's why they're not finished yet. But those will be done for the next update, and hopefully we'll also have started the 4th transformation skills, and we'll be able to show that off. Um, yeah, I think that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. It's pretty exciting stuff being able to finally release new skills that are added, especially at these lower levels. And like I said, they're probably going to be added or implemented through Windflowers. If anybody has some better ideas for that or some suggestions on how to add them differently, we're more than open to hear what players have to say about that. And similarly, if they have concerns or feedback on the effects of the skills as we describe them, you're also free to comment on that, and we can make changes to them. These aren't set in stone. Um, Probably when we do start public testing, players are going to notice a few issues with them, or that they're too strong or too weak. So of course they will be changed over time, but this is what they are right now. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys in 2 weeks.